Right. I think we're on. We might be. Who knows? Well, apparently OBS knows. So, have I really spelt shouldn't wrong? Don't think so. That looks like the word to me. Yeah. Who knows? Right. Moving on. Hello. We're just gonna carry on basically. I don't think there's much else to say. This is gonna be one very, very long continuous series, so I'm just gonna do my best to go from one to the next. I probably won't even bother doing intros after a while because this is just going to take a very long time. All right, where are we? Player bases, run out here. Okay, so this was cool. So this is the idea that when players use up their upkeep, rather than the base simply like disappearing off the face of the planet, interesting things happen. So, um, this will allow visiting players to claim old bases. Old bases will eventually um, disappear from the server, uh, clearing out unused resources. Any other significant advantages? What else? Hmm. Is it really not double S? No. It's not disappear. Is it that? No, who knows? Spelling sucks, man. I'm sure I've got an autocorrect in this thing, but I don't know why it's not. It is one. Oh, it's double P, is it? Oh, okay, right, fair enough. I'll just leave that in the background. Right. Oasis will eventually disappear from the server, clearing out unused resources. Not much really to say about that. I think that's probably the two main advantages. It's the only real reason to do it is to make sure the server doesn't get oversaturated with player bases that aren't being used. Disadvantage of this, players that can't upkeep their bases eventually lose them. This is just the nature of the game. Yeah, I think this is another one where it's like tough luck. That's how it is. If you don't upkeep your base, you lose it. Cool, right. Bases that run out of upkeep become claimed by the next player. Oh yeah, so oh mm, right, this is actually this. Oh, whoops. So this will allow existing players to claim old bases. Again, it's not really, that's kind of the whole point. So I don't think there's much more to say about this. Oh, I've specified fuel. This is meant to be upkeep. I don't really think there are negatives to this. Again, it's, I suppose, no, because it's like kind of the point of a survival game is you can, just as much as you can start with nothing and run around and have to find and make everything, you can just as easily accidentally find somebody else's base and take claim of it. I think it's a pretty reasonable thing to be able to do. Given that I'm thinking of making the upkeep sort of a mid-tier thing, new players won't be able to just randomly occupy existing bases. They'll have to put some effort into it. But if you find one, then you could go out of your way to get the fuel to be able to supply the base. So yeah, something to that effect. Um, Yeah, central nodes. I don't think there are any downsides to having the central nodes. Doesn't make much difference. I guess you could argue, no, because basis wouldn't even be less freeform. You're just defining a small section of a base. It doesn't limit you in any particular way. Yeah, maybe it's fine. Yeah, don't know. I can't think of anything wrong with having a forced central node because you kind of naturally make one anyway. You're always going to have a center of your base. It's just like a different type of foundation block or object or whatever it is. I mean, an old Deadside is just a post. In Daisy, it's a flag. In Rust, it's your tool cupboard. I think new Deadside, it's a tool cupboard equivalent now. I've not played up to that point yet. I do have a hammer and some nails, so I shall attempt to do so at some point. Right. I feel like I need to see the overview of this to find out where the hell I need to carry on from, because um this is a intricate section I need to consider. Um Building rates, basement calculations, weapons. Did I? Oh, I did that for my other game, that's why. Okay, so let's go with, let's finish off the raiding tools. Wherever that section's ended up. Here we are. I feel like I need to reorder these sections soon. I will just put that back there. Right. Hmm. Lockpicks. Okay, so this can allow players to raid low tier bases without the need to get explosives. The con of this is these be easy to find and use. Allows new starting players to Oh, this could be easy to find and use these starting players to raid. I feel like that covers that, to be fair. So, like, if the problem with having lockpicks is that they'd be like trivial to find, you know, they could spawn in only missions and not random loot, or perhaps like mini boss NPCs or something. However, what am I going for? Hmm. Oh, so I could make uh these only spawn in low tier missions and not randomly in loot boxes. Okay, C4 is a way to allow players to raid. I can have control over the spawn of them. Makes sense to use something specifically timed versus something doing constant damage. Okay, so are there any, as a raiding tool, is there anything bad about C4? Because this is like, is there any cons for having C4 as a type of raiding bases specifically? So it's not having it instead of other things or anything. This is just like the fact that it exists. Is there a problem with it? I don't think so. It's just it's like there wouldn't really be much of an issue of having certain types of backpacks necessarily or vehicles. They just serve different purposes. So I'm going to say probably this isn't conceptually where there would be cons to it. I think lockpicks is a different matter because you could argue in most games you could craft them or they would be easy to find because they're like a common tool maybe, but I would need to mitigate them in the same way that I do C4. The diamond drill, this could play as a approach to reaching it base. Players could avoid needing to find multiple, find and carry multiple explosives. So I like the idea that like the difference between the drill and the C4 is the C4 is more impactful. It does the job. You put it in the place, you wait, and it triggers, and it does the thing. And you don't have to do anything else. But the idea with the drill would be that you instigate the action, and it makes progress, and then when you get to a certain point, it completes the action, and then you use it again on the next thing, and you just keep going, and you don't really have to wait for things. You're kind of covered by the base if somebody else were to try and like attack you or something. So if the player's not in the base, then you can't. Then you're free to just sit at the door and break in, all that kind of stuff. And you'd only need one of them to get into a base. They would probably have durability in some form, but yeah, something like that. Right. So the con of this. Let's see, and use would to be and their durability and time taken to reach door need to be balanced well against the C4. So it'd be like ba, ba, ba. Would I make it take longer? Let's just get some subsections going. Right. Long does it take? Where does it come from? How many can you carry? Weight, stack size. So I just need to consider like the C4's, usability and stuff, and then like the same thing for this. But this would be like weight. So you could take multiple on you. I don't like the idea of limiting somebody's carry potential. Because, like, if you could carry multiple drills, then you can kind of bypass the durability problem. But you could argue, I could just make it so you can only have one on you at a time. So if you ever try and add it to your inventory, it just doesn't get added because you've got one already. I could even make one slot in your inventory only capable of having it. Something like that, but that would be a bit too invasive, I think. But yeah, I could just make it weigh a lot, right? And rather than durability, I could have. Does it need power? So we could have them with like batteries or a fuel requirement. So rather than durability, now it needs some source of power, and the item itself is essentially redundant unless you get that. Same deal here, I suppose. Yeah, stack size, weight. Weight's not really an issue with lockpicks. I guess this is just I would need to carefully consider the use case of a drill over C4 and balance it as I test. Yeah, I mean that's just a matter of time sort of thing. Maybe it can become blunted randomly. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. So we've tidied up some more things. Goodness me. Alright, what section do we want to work on next? So we got pretty good ideas of the player bases and the building system and ownership and like the inventory system. And I could cover more things in the backpack section. Spawning item rarity. This is items as a whole. I steal from one of the other ones that's a bit lesser. That one. There we go, right. Okay, so alright, let's think about this as a section. In fact, let's make all of these sections. I'll leave that as it is for now. We'll come on to that later. So there's going to be a table here. Spawning placement. Yeah, item rarity. Do I have loot boxes or something similar? It's just a mission section. There's not necessarily a loot section. Okay, I'm gonna let's get rid of this and call this let's say loot properties. So this should instead be name, type, range, or something to that effect. So, you know, it would be like name, rarity. Because this is loot, not items, so it'd be like, obviously this would be ID. And 0 to so let's do 0 plus name string. Is it this? Something like that. Rarity. Let's be a int slash num. Technically, it's the same. Okay, I have no idea what I just did. Oh, I went to the wrong. Right. Oh. Okay, I think that's fine. Right, int name. I think this is treating it as I don't think I need these and right, sorry, right, rarity and that's 0 to 5 or something. So yeah, loot properties, so there's gonna be like type, maybe subtype. So like type could be 0 to 10 and subtype could be 0 to 10. Something to that effect. So I'm thinking like yeah, the type could be consumable or like medical supplies, ammo, weapon, raw resources, etc. And then the subtype could be like specific. So it could be like a pistol or an assault rifle or a med kit or a bandage or something. Or I could ignore this entirely, but I suppose no, this is meant to be loot tables, so it's got to be somewhat specific. Quantity, I suppose. Okay, right. So I'm spawning decisions and stuff. So spawning and placement. So, each POI will have fixed loot containers in each POI will have loot containers in specific locations. Loot containers don't always spawn unless forced by mission. loot will respawn based on the last time I interacted with it. Just go over this in a second. Need to copy a few more of these across. So yeah, so not all loot containers will have loot in, will actually spawn. So if a POI's got like 10 possible containers, only 5 of them might ever spawn at once. Loot will respawn based on the last time a player interacted with it. I should be more specific than that. Last time a player, based on the first time a player, yeah, first time a player interacted with it. I'm thinking with the wrong buttons here. Loot will be based on the POI loot tables unless mission overrides. Yes. Loot will respawn at a rate based on the amount of players in the server. Rather than loot containers, let's just call it loot for now. It's the amount of players in the server. There's a lot of thoughts around this side of things, so let's think. There's oh dear. What do you do? Okay, let's say loot will respawn after fixed amount of time. Right, this is the system I was thinking about before, actually. So this is loot will only be calculated when the player interacts with the loot. Okay, how loot inside a container will only be calculated when the player interacts with it, and then loot outside of a container will change / respawn at intervals provided players are. Oh, actually, loot outside of the container will will spawn once a player gets close enough. Okay, so like we got this like level of detail concept, but for the loot and the AI, I really want to pan out a bit more. So can I go to the AI section, assuming I've got one. I spawning. Let's just do it myself here. And I'll just copy this a few times. Right, let's copy that. So before I forget, AI will spawn in as will start as a single actor, has no behavior until a player would be close enough to render the actual character models. Okay, so that's one thing. And then when a player get is or comes close enough to AI spawn, will update its location it will spawn the all characters and data, right? And then the AI call an overseer. Single actor. There's no behavior. So the AI overseer will date its location simple way every minute following the patrol path. The AI unless it's in a POI. Okay, so we don't want the AI to like exist in the game until somebody's close enough to interact with it, essentially. So I'm coming up with a reasonable means of having them exist but not occupy any real information in the game. I think that's a good approach. Something to that effect, anyway. Alright, so coming up with more things here and there. Oh, Lord have mercy, there's so much to get through again. Yeah, Leo, so will spawn once the player gets close enough. Okay. I'm just gonna copy a few more of those. Right. So that's looking pretty good for now. Um, oh, my cursor's come back. Good. Um, hmm. Not sure what else to think about this at the moment. Is there anything else I need to consider? The loop parameters are going to be handled by the points of interest. So the point of interest will, oh yeah. So the points of interest will influence or be influenced by the missions that occur in them. So what I'm kind of hoping for is there's two conflicting loot tables, and it will kind of like merge them together. So there'll be a sort of like a here's the mandatory things that both loot tables have, and then here are the optional things. And you kind of like, based on the size of the area and the type of mission, you pick a certain quantity of the more RNG based items. So okay, so let's just do that as a thing. So if we take this concept here, you do this. So POIs and missions will both have own loot tables. Both the POI and mission loot tables will have fixed items that each need to spawn somewhere. Both loot tables will have optional slash possible loot spawns that can be randomly picked from once the default loot has been collected and placed. Something like that. Yeah, both loot tables will have optional possible loot spawns that can be randomly picked from once the default loot has been calculated and placed. Cool. So I like that as a concept. So when you see a mission of this type, that type of mission then produces a guaranteed loot of this type. And how the loot tables are going to work is they're going to literally pick like a container. So there'll be like a type of loot, should be like medical or military or something. There'll be specific items. So there'll be like combinations of specific items, specific containers, and then sort of like guaranteed versions of those that will spawn a certain quantity. So let's say every POI has 15 possible loot containers that can spawn around it. And it could be the case that when I figure out where the loot spawns, it happens after the buildings have been calculated, so updated to match the relevant mission. And then when the buildings get calculated, they also enforce certain loot containers to be in certain places. So if a medical mission spawns in a town and it spawns like a temporary triage center, then that center, whatever loot container would be inside that building, one of them would guaranteed be a medical container. And so I could have like these concepts of like default loot tables for default containers. So it could just be a medical container. But I could equally have it so we calculate what all of the containers are going to be, and then we put the fixed guaranteed loot into randomly into those containers. And it could only be 2, maybe 3 of those containers have like the guaranteed stuff in them. And that would be from the POI and the mission. So if you've got a medical mission in a lumber mill, the lumber mill could guarantee that a saw and a hammer and nails spawn, and the medical mission guarantees like defibrillator and a first aid kit or something, or steroids or whatever it is, right? Then so then you have a guaranteed utility/tools container that it finds, and then a guaranteed medical one that it finds and puts those items in them. And then it's got guaranteed amounts of containers of a certain type, so it could be a minimum of 3 medical and now 2 tools/utilities container. One of each of those have been enforced. So then it picks random ones, and then it's got a total amount of containers that it needs to occupy. So now there's like maybe 3 random ones, which can pick between anything the medical mission can spawn and anything the POI one can spawn. So they like add to an array and you randomly pick from that. And then they define the containers, and then the containers get given the loot tables that they can use. So there would be some ID for loot container, loot table that it picks from. So there would be like a medical mission loot table and the lumber mill loot table. And then they just pick from that loot table, which would be like, this item can spawn in this container at this potential quantity and quality. And then they all just randomize all of their stuff. And then you get like a mission in a POI that's got guaranteed these things in it, with highly likely these other things in it, and possibly all of these other things. And I think that's a good way of doing it. And it would be trivial, like from a code perspective, that's just enumerations and structures. That's just picking up some data from a couple of tables. And these are going to be static tables, so it will just be loaded at the start and it won't ever really have to pay any attention to it. There only needs to be 5 missions and like, let's say 10 types of POIs, because then you get the combination of both of them. So, and then the loot tables, they might be complicated in terms of data, but I can just make an application to manage the data myself. And then if I allow players to make their own loot tables to their servers, I can just give them the tool that I use. I think that's where we're going to end up with this sort of thing. I think I need to, in here, come up with loot tables as concepts. So we could have... I'm probably going to need to do this by like section and things. But basically I'm going to need to do this, but a simpler version. So there would be like name, type, item types, and it would be like, so let's go with lumber mill, POI, and then like, I don't know, hammer, nails, saw. Right, so now we've got this loot tables thing like this, and then I could do another one, and this could be like medical mission, and this could be type mission, and then this could be like med kit, bandage, saline. So now we get this kind of thing building up. And I could do military mission, I could do small, like, small town, medium town, large town, and blah blah blah, and they all have different combinations of stuff. And then this list would be IDs, and this would be like a table, linked table, so there would be another table to this. But this would be like an overview of my initial thoughts, just to get some basic things in place. Yeah, cool. Lots and lots more to consider. I feel like I need to make these equal now. So the words are getting a bit long in some of them. So I think in this one it should just be balanced. Because the decisions themselves are just as, need to be just as readable. These ones it makes sense. Like here's a bit annoying. There we go. Just making it auto space. I think here's kind of reasonable. Yeah, here's fine. Okay, cool. Yeah, oh yeah, we've done all of that. Yeah, full of some more stuff there. Stuff here. Cool. The more the merrier. Well, the more, yeah, progress. I can't not be achieving anything at the moment, so that's always good. As in, everything I do here is progress towards something, so yeah. Now this is probably a good one to balance out a bit more. No, I was right to do it like that on that one. Cool. Alright, oh god, there's so much more. But it's good though, because I normally something like this can be a bit overwhelming, and it's like, yeah, this will probably take me in terms of actual time taken, it's probably only going to take me 100 hours, maybe. No, it's only been, I started this on stream, so it's only realistically been about 8 or 9 hours. It's probably 50 hours, I think, when I finish what I want to achieve in here. But then the thing is, I've got to actually start doing this in design, and the actual design bit is probably going to be something in the region of 200 to 250 hours of work, I think. Because I'm going to have to pick from these, right? So these aren't decisions I've actually made. These are decisions I've considered and the impact of those decisions on the game. But when I actually start picking these, that's when I actually start having to put the work into it. And like stuff like this. This basically equates to a sequence diagram, which will likely generate many objects that I need to create in a design somewhere. Lots of attributes, lots of operations, and then the actual raw logic of it I will need to start considering. So it will be like a sequence diagram and then maybe some kind of flow chart or something that combine together to form the end resulting logic. You know, and saying goes that this stuff and like backpacks and all this starting stuff, this will be a sequence diagram as well with like when I've chosen what people start with, it's like spawn these items here, give them to their inventory, equip this, and figure out this, and all that kind of stuff. Ah, all good fun. Oh, I wish this would update. Unfortunately, it doesn't refresh automatically, which is rather irritating. Anywho, that will be that for now. I'm giving myself a headache at the moment. But yeah, more done. Progress has been made. So I'll see you guys around.